אוקיי, מה קורה צ'אט יקר? היום אנחנו בעוד לייב פורטנייט חדש, לייב שני ליום, כי בדיוק לפני שעה הייתי בלייב, אבל הכל קרס לי בגלל האינטרנט הגרוע שלי, היה לי 1100 פינג, היה פשוט נורא. מה שאנחנו הולכים לעשות בלייב היום זה, אנחנו הולכים לצפות ב-FNCS, רגע רק שנייה. טוב. אוי, בטעות חיביתי את המסך, רגע. טוב. אוקיי, אנחנו בלייב. מה שאנחנו הולכים לעשות עכשיו בלייב זה לצפות ב-FNCS חצי גמר FNCS סמי פיינלס. אני שנייה אראה לכם מה בדיוק יש שם. נפתח שנייה את הפורטנייט טראקר. שנייה. אנחנו עוד שנייה נתחיל לצפות בטורניר. אוקיי, יאללה. טוב. אז בוא נראה מה יש עכשיו בלייב. יש עכשיו את הטורניר של הרנק הזה ששיחקנו בו וזכינו בו מקודם, גם הבאנו שם ווין, יכולים לצפות בשידור חוזר. אוקיי, אז מה שיש עכשיו זה ה-FNCS צ'פטר 5 עונה 3, ה-FNCS של העונה הזאתי, הסמי פיינל סאפר. אז בעצם אחרי האופן קואליפייר, כל השלבים שיש שם, כל 4 שלבים או 3, בעצם יש יש את החצי גמר, ומפה אפשר לעלות לגמר, ובגמר בטוח זוכים בכסף. ככל ששמים בגמר מקום יותר טוב, אז ככה זוכים יותר כסף. אז מה שיש באירופה, יש עכשיו גם אירופה וגם מידליסט בלייב. אז הנה, זה עכשיו השלב השלישי, יש אותו עכשיו מ-6 עד 7:30. אנחנו התחלנו עכשיו, נתחיל לצפות, בעצם סיימו כבר משחק אחד, ומי שניצח אותו... לא, הם עוד לא סיימו משחק אחד. הנה, זה הלידבורד, יש פה רק 50 אנשים, האנשים הכי טובים באירופה. פוקוס היה גם בראשון, פה נגיד, מישהו הכי טוב בארץ, נגיד, באירופה, ופעלה, כבר על החצי גמר. אז פה בעצם... טופ 25 עולה נראה לי. לא, בראשון טופ 5, בראשון טופ 5 עולה. בשני זה גם 5, ובשלישי זה... טוב, אני לא יודע, משהו כזה. נראה לי עכשיו טופ 25 עולה. יש פה כרגע 50 אנשים, היה להם כבר 2 הזדמנויות לעלות כאן. בעצם יש 5 משחקים, מי שמביא ווין זה 1000 נקודות. אז כאילו 5 משחקים ו5 אנשים עולים, מי שמביא ווין זה 1000 נקודות. אז פשוט זה כולם בלובי אחד, כי זה רק 100 אנשים, אז פשוט כל מי שמביא ווין עולה. אז זה היה להם הזדמנות פה לעלות. מי שפה זה מי שלא הספיק לעלות כאן, כי עדיין קשה להביא ווין עם השחקנים הכי טובים בעולם, ואני מבין את זה. עדיין אחרי הכל לא כולם תמיד מנצחים. בקיצור, זה גם מביא להם מלא PR, אפשר לראות כאן PR 4.5. גם מי שמסיים מקום אחרון מקבל 1500 PR. בקיצור, זה כבר אחרי שהם עברו את ה-Open Qualifier, הם עכשיו בסמי פיינלס, וזה האפר. בעצם האפר זה השחקנים שסיימו יותר טוב, והלואוור זה השחקנים שסיימו פחות טוב. או נגיד יש אנשים שהגיעו לאפר ולא סיימו טוב, אז הם ירדו ללואוור. יש שחקנים שהיו בלואוור והם סיימו טוב, אז הם עלו לאפר. ויש שחקנים שהיו באפר והיו כל הזמן טוב, אז פשוט עלו כבר לגמר. בקיצור, האפר זה השחקנים היותר טובים, והלואוור זה השחקנים הפחות טובים. לא כל כך קראתי על זה, אבל זה משהו כזה. והם בעצם יכולים לעלות לגמר, שיש אותו עוד שבוע. בעצם בגמר מקום ראשון באירופה זה $170,000. בשרתים אחרים זה כמובן פחות כסף. אז זהו, עכשיו הם במשחק השני. אנחנו נתחיל לצפות. הנה.
Find the little crevice. Full duos left in this game as one of them goes down. Thomas gets taken out. Queasy falls to the storm. 2v2 situation. Heal-off is going to begin. He starts it early towards the top side of zone. He hears the communication from his teammate. He's weak. He's weak, just a sliver of HP. He's going in trying to get the finish, and he does. No heal-off needed. He takes it by force.
What a play from Flintmonk. He had everything in his right to play in the zone and pop the medkits. Wasn't the comms from the the duo. Was it the storm sickness? Something got into his mind and said, I need aggression. I need eliminations. Dropped down, picked up Cade, and secured that victory royale.
This was perfect. This was the moment right here. The fight's going down below. A knock gets traded out. Cade is weak. And so he just drops down. Firen goes down to the zone. I don't know if he noticed that or not. And then it's just a 1v1. Sliver of HP. Landed that final shot on the Cade and takes the game. He may not have advanced directly to the grand finals, Takada, but he is so close now.
I want to know what was going through his mind. I mean, that was quite a risky situation to play out. But I mean, it worked out. So he got that victory royale. Both players now, good amount of points. Will they be able to hold on to make it to the grand finals? I don't know yet. We have to go to a quick break, and then we'll be right back for a lot more action. So we'll see you soon. Don't go anywhere.
אז בעצם מי שמגיע לגמרים מסיים שם ממש טוב, עולה לטורניר הגדול שיהיה בטקסס, ובעצם ניתן אותם הכי טובים שעלו יש שם, וכמו שאתם רואים זה במשך, כמו שהיה קיצור מלא מלא שלבים, אבל מי שמגיע לכאן אם שומרים את זה גם במלחמה הזה בעצם טוב, אז עכשיו הם שימו את המשחק הראשון, עוד 3 דקות הם עוברים אחד, וזה אני מבין מה היה במשחק הזה. המשחק השני מתוך השני עומד להתחיל, ואני לא חושב במשחק יואב ושרח את זה, שחקנים הכי הכי טובים של שרח. אולי אחרי זה יש לנו גם משחק
Hello, welcome back to FNCS. We're one game into the 6-game extravaganza, our third and final day of the semi-finals. And as always, it was a fantastic match to kick things off. Philip Monk having the perfect timing. It's like he called on a higher power to know when to drop down and get the final blow on Cade, Levin.
or his teammate Firen hit him and told him he was low, so he dropped out.
There was that too. There was a bit of it.
Fine. Okay, we're a very secular broadcast here. I apologise.
Yeah. No. They sky based on height throughout the end game. Nobody really looked up. The people who did maybe try and go up were like, hold on a minute, these guys are doing a sky base. What are we gonna do to get involved here? And then towards the end there, Firen is obviously the one task of dropping down, trying to wipe out the rest of the lobby. Isn't quite able to wipe out the lobby, but he does do good damage onto Cade and probably comes, oh my god, he's 1 HP, drop down. And then like Philip Mumps panic down, okay, let me finish this off instead of using my med kits, and they end up winning the game from there.
Let's just run with the narrative that Philip Monk has like a sixth sense and he just knows. I think Frank, you would prefer that, you know? But the way they took height
he's got Monk in his name, guys.
Yeah, true. Yeah, exactly. So I think the way they took height there was really good. I think, you know, although they just kind of ramped up, they both played 2 different layers, if you noticed there as well. So anyone that did try and come up, one of them could just spray and the other one could keep onto that height. So really nice height fundamentals at the beginning of that end game. And then, yeah, as you mentioned, Levin, just dropped down, trying to find as many of those eliminations as possible, because realistically, that might be the strat in this sort of lobby. You don't necessarily need to win the game, although those guys did, but just ramping up on height, investing those materials, making sure you can get yourselves into that top 5, top 10 situation just to rack up those points. Obviously, it depends on the situation, but that could be a strategy we see unfold more often.
Well, let's take a look at the leaderboard and see where we're at after our first of 3 games in the upper bracket lobby. Top 25 qualifies for the grand finals. So we've got some very happy duos in the top 10, Minimana.
Yeah, really happy indeed. I mean, the job's not done for a lot of those teams, apart from, of course, Marine and Cade up there as well. Queasy and Thomas, of course, having a very good game as well. They had a 4th place with 9 eliminations in that last game. Nice to see from these guys, more close to home in terms of a zone, so that's going to have benefited them a little bit as well. Just overall, nicely played endgame using their experience. They know they don't need to go the full distance and win the game today, just as long as they can have consistent endgames like they have here.
Yeah, it was really fun to see them sort of wiping teams on these mid layers, right? Just Thomas putting in work is always going to be a staple of an EU FNCS. Just always ready with his shotgun in hand, and he's rarely going to miss, is he? So, no, that was a really fun sort of endgame to watch from Queasy and Thomas, and the kind of thing I'm expecting to see more from them of next weekend on Grand Finals.
I've missed this Queasy and Thomas, I have to say. I've kind of been wondering where they've been at in terms of their consistency. It's been a little bit of a struggle, I feel like, this Major 3, but really good to see them challenging. Also, as always, great to see Chap and Teeny as well. It's just like, it would feel weird not seeing them make it to the end game, and it almost would feel weird if we didn't see them in the top 10. I mean, they're comfortably sitting at number 5 now, 11.
Yeah, I mean, these guys were doing pretty all right in this game. Teeny with some really big shots there, right, to keep his team in the game. You know, he was sort of leading them on their mid layers, and things were sort of moving on smooth sailingly, right? There wasn't anything too crazy going on. It was sort of just a bog standard end game from them, not the flashy, high flying games we're used to seeing maybe. But again, in this format, it's enough to sort of get the job done, and if they can do that again, they'll be well on their way to grands.
Yeah, it's a team that I'm enjoying seeing performing well. It was one of those teams that we kind of expecting to get a win yesterday and Friday. It was just like, when are they going to do it? Are they going to do it? Surely it's going to be now. And it didn't end up happening, but I'm sure they'll qualify through today with the way they're playing.
I was watching that game, though, thinking, oh, this is finally the time that we see Merslash and Malabuka pick up a long-awaited victory royale. They put in so much hard work yesterday. They had the perfect loadout from Redline Rig, a brilliant game, and then Cade and Marine came to steal it from them, Levin. I kind of felt sorry for them.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the focus there for me would be on Cade and him just sort of bossing them out of the lobby, really. They clearly didn't expect to see it happen. Look, he just popped up right behind him, and Malabuka's like, wait, hold on a minute, what's happening here? Drops down to low, and he's like, oh, I'm out of the lobby now. It's funny because they sort of got taken out by Cade there in a way you would have expected Malabuka Mustache in the past to take out other people, which, you know, something poetic there, surely. So, yeah, but it's still a good game for Mali and Mustache.
Yeah, they were looking good as well. I thought they might actually end up taking the win at a certain point there. I was actually looking back what happened last season, because I remember they were in day 3 last season as well, upper bracket, and they did actually win the very first game of that day. So I was hoping it would be even more poetic there with the way that they would do the exact same thing again, but it didn't end up happening. They still have to do a lot of work now. What's that, 50 points that they're on right now? So it's not done yet, and especially if their off-spawn situation could be ruffled up a little bit. We saw a little bit of contestation by Acefrac there, just rotating on in. So I'm concerned about whether that could become a more regular thing if Acefrac decides to land on them. We'll have to wait and see.
I feel like they've had so much success off spawn though this particular weekend that I feel like we're starting to see the Mustache Malabuka that we saw back in Major 111, and that's obviously good news. I mean, obviously not that I'm the expert, but when you're thinking ahead to Fort Worth, this surely is going to be the pride of Europe, this duo.
Absolutely. When it comes to being contested, they're never a team that has shied away. Always going to be that team where, regardless of the score with them in an off-spawn battle, they're probably still going to be high on you on the leaderboard, and I think that will, you know, ride through here today as well.
Well, let's see what happens at Red Line Rig and also across the map for the rest of our duos as we head to our second game of the upper bracket with Takata and Jacob here.
Thank you again so much, guys. And this is the thing that I really want to take note of. One more appreciation for the guys who just won that last game. This is a possible first FNCS final appearances for this guy. And most important thing is they barely got into the lower bracket. Outside of top 250, luckily for them, it was top 255 making it in. This proves right here that dreams can come true if you just work hard to achieve them.
Yeah, it's what you love to see. Firen is the first and only EU player without an FNCS finals to take home a victory royale in the upper bracket. Things you love to see, just like the battle bus being ready. So let's get into the second match of the upper bracket.
If you guys are just tuning in, this is game 2, and normally we have 5, maybe even 6 games depending on the format, but this is the upper bracket, which means 3 games total. So there's only 2 shots left for these teams to rise up that leaderboard and advance to the grand finals in the top 25 due to consistency. So if you had a good game in that last one, you're actually onto the right track.
Take a look at this. Haijo Kaido looking like they might have this drop spot uncontested now. You can see Truly and Ace Frack were the ones contesting them, but now they're kind of in the outskirts for Stroky and Raban, though. They're going to have to be careful as Swis is actually going to be looking to pick up that first elimination now. Should probably go assist his duo partner. That's in another 1 versus 1. If Raban goes down here, it's all over.
Well, I would love to see him just kind of rush through that door on the other side. He had the opportunity. He still does. Oh! Gets that first knock. He did end up off the launch pad, but he goes down. Swis just threaded the needle right there. Sewing that patch on. W off the off-spawn fight.
More than 10 teams contesting each other so far, according to the drop map. A lot of off-spawn engagements throughout the day. That was a close one for Swis, though. If he wasn't able to connect that last shot, I don't think he had a shotgun, so you can even see with the third party coming through now. Even now, this is incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, that's Chromatic and Locks. That was that team that contested Haijo and Kaido in that last game, dropping all over the island today. Just trying to catch some of these teams off guard. We've seen that used as a strategy in the past, and it has worked out. But sometimes it takes more than just trying it out on game day for it to work. You got to be able to practice it. At least the different loop paths to try to catch some of these teams off guard. Even if you have the elevation here, it's not going to be the easiest thing to try to drop down and fight this team down below. Especially if they crash pad away.
I think Chroma knows exactly how much HP his opponents have. I mean, they know they just got out of an engagement, but they don't know if they destroyed them, and they both have 200 effective HP and shield. If they're low, we're just kind of taking a look at the situation, seeing how much of an advantage they might have before fully committing to anything, but they weren't interested for Nebs and Kiruo, though. Once again, it looks like they might have came out on top here at Grim Gate.
They're taking out like 2 birds with 1 stone here at Grim Gates. They're getting their POI, they're making it off spawn, getting up that leaderboard, but they're also pushing Toos and Karmi not only out of the POI, but taking them down, making sure like, hey, even if you guys go down to lower bracket, we're going to try to demoralize you, lessen the chance of you coming back. That way, when it comes to the FNCS finals, if they make it there, they have it more than likely uncontested.
Back at the new kind of POI that appeared a couple days ago. Still haven't seen anything really new happen from this area, even though there are some new items. We'll see how this fight concluded, though. Asa, who got knocked early in the match last game, if I'm not mistaken, now looking to come out on top with an elimination. Vico Flixie back at Reckless Railways. Are they? They're fully uncontested, right?
Yeah, as of now, they're fully uncontested. But we do see teams rotate in towards Reckless Railways, especially depending on where the zone goes. And they do have access to that forecast tower that spawns just south of Reckless Railways if they do want to try to claim it for themselves. That has been a part of their strategy throughout the weekend, which has kind of helped in terms of their consistency. The other team that likes to beeline for him, Chap Teeny, making sure to push every team off. But Teeny taking just a little bit too much damage, 40 HP. Does have the shields to get back up to tip-top shape, but he needs Chap to buy the time. And with him getting dropped down low and focused, it might not have been the way they expected to buy the time, but they got it nonetheless.
The second most consistent duo yesterday, Chap and Teeny. Do not want to go down early here. They did their damage, but now that the third party's close by, I doubt they're going to continue with their aggression. They are going to replenish their dashes by stepping in the water, pop that Flowberry Fizz, and now with a little crash pad, continue with their rotation. But am I mistaken? They want a piece of the pie. They're more hungry. They're not done yet. The cola's been popped. Are they going to keep pushing?
Part of me wants to say yes, part of me wants to say no. There's still that forecast tower back there that they haven't necessarily claimed. And then further and further they rotate away from it. More and more comfortability happen with some of these other teams, probably to try to rotate in and kind of claim it for themselves. But it is zone 1. It is really early for that forecast tower to start to come into play. So they're probably trying to condition a lot of these teams.
Taking a look by Lavish Lair. Looks like Twee and Jakey from a difficult early game in game number 1, where Jakey was left alone, to now being on the opposite end here, picking up another elim. Not too much is going to happen, though. They're just going to continue now with their mid-game rotations. We haven't seen a lot go on around the Lavish Lair side of the map. A lot of the engagements have been a bit more south or even on the east side.
Yeah, typically what I've noticed is a lot of the teams that even land Lavish, they kind of loot up and then they either move towards the north to try to go after Surge and those bunkers that do spawn there, or obviously this season they immediately try to beeline it towards the south, grab one of them cactuses. Not a lot of action actually goes down around Lavish Layer unless teams are rotating in, like we did see. Slove and Nate, they already got a sense with only one elimination so far that somebody else is floating around here. A solo.
Ooh.
That's 4 points that they could definitely use to try to get themselves higher up on that leaderboard, especially since it's already game 2.
Do they know? Do they know? They know there's a player in the somewhere, but you can see how much cover that kind of little rock actually gives. It reminds me, that rock reminds me of like a mini version, you know, I forget what the POI was called. It was like a shark. It's like a big shark rock on the water.
Man, I'm really drawing a blank, but I know I used to land there. I know, you know, the NA boys, you know, Rogue Shark, Knight, they used to kind of land over there as well.
Oh, way back.
Yeah, that's way back. I don't think anybody even remembers their name. A full generation of players have come in, and I know it's a different region. Yanis and Pixie, kind of business as usual. They don't always leave Brawler's Battleground right away. They like to loot it up to the fullest, knowing they do have the cactuses later on in terms of getting their Storm Surge. So they don't necessarily have to beeline it right away like a lot of these other teams on the north side of the map do.
Just got yelled at by Levin, telling me it was literally called the shark, but
see, I was,
you know, it's part of the fun.
That, but I thought it was just too obvious there. But Levin doesn't, so.
That's true, he does. Cade Marine, or should I say just Cade, as now he's been left alone. 92 points already for this duo. They are in first place, leading the pack, even though they didn't get the initial victory royale. We saw how dominant Cade was in that late game, almost annihilating Murstache and Malibuka. 9 eliminations, I believe, is what they finished with. But if Cade ends up going down now, it could be detrimental.
Yeah, they're just trying to double Nitro into the box. He does the right thing, change layers, but get cut off on the other side. Nice shot to back down one. Avahalo and Low-Key, they're kind of reassessing the situation like, hey, is this something we want to actually do? Flowberry fizzing on the low ground. I think they heard that crash pad. They heard Cade try to disengage. He goes outside of the zone knowing, hey, if I'm going to get a reboot on Marine, this is one of the only ways to do it. I have to stagger myself back, sacrifice the storm damage, which lessens the chance that Cade can win heal off later in the same game.
Oof, be careful though. Neb's going to get cracked with a single shot. The deal and Reason going to choose to split up a little bit here as Vidal continues to hunt for tags. This is close to where Queasy and Thomas HD like to box up as well. In the last match, Queasy somehow got knocked down while trading tags. So hopefully they don't overcommit once again.
Yeah, that's something we saw as we tuned into them last game. Queasy barely getting revived back up by Thomas. Luckily, they have the cactus, some extra heals over there for them to use. But you can see almost every single game, game in and game out, they go over towards Shipwreck Shallows. They grab one of these cactuses, build the tower maybe like 5 layers high, maybe even 6. And then they obviously grab their roof so they don't get crash padded on and try to grab as much surge as possible. But depending on whether if they get a scope or not in these DMRs really determines how much storm surge they're actually able to get. Because you notice they don't go for a bunker almost at any stage of the game. So they're kind of relying on that floor loot of a DMR having it thermal or some sort of scope.
This is the first time throughout the semifinals where the game winners are still playing after they took home the win. As we can see, Flip Monk and Fire in here going up against, I was gonna say just one duo, but there seems to be 2. It's an all-out battle now, 3 different teams at Mount Olympus.
It's kind of easy rotation though.
Yeah, I don't think any of them are gonna fully commit to anything, and like you said, the rotation in this side of the map, you do have a lot of environmental launch pads which can be put to good use here. I believe that's where Haijo and Kaido are actually heading towards right now. Or maybe they just want to claim the hill and see kind of where this zone closes.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a little bit of sacrifice for them if they do want to stay here. I like the idea of it, especially the zone continues to pull over there. It's just the big question is how much surge did they get in the early game, because a lot of the players are not necessarily boxed up on that side of the map. Mustache and Malibuka still floating around Redline Rig. They haven't had the need to kind of push out too far just yet. They have a lot of the cactuses replenish HP to replenish those shields. They can rotate in late, try to get some shots on a lot of these other teams that are coming in from the south, that are from the west, that might try to rotate south to the slower side of the zone. And I think that's what they've been using game in and game out. They're not necessarily relying on cactuses every step of the way.
I want to see a win from Mustache Malibuka today. I want to see it happen. We didn't get to see it in day 1, 2. I think they've been baiting us a little bit, Jacob. They just kind of want to get their practice in before grand finals. But, you know, the joke's over. You can do it now. I've waited long enough. Podosai Snazy, though, put into a bit of danger. Podosai has been fully cracked.
Interesting that they're not just pushing in as Haijo Kaido. They probably got a couple shots that they wanted. You saw them rotating out of Mount Olympus last time we saw them. This time around, they're getting much more confident in this situation. And they're a team that needs to have a decent game here. Don't really have too many points so far, which means if they fall flat here in game 2, they're going to really leave it all on the line, and they're almost going to be mimicking the format of yesterday, where they need a big win in order to get into that threshold.
This is a similar zone to last match. Once again, pulling towards kind of the northeast, east side of the map here. We talked about it previously, but there's a lot of mountains and ridges and changes in elevation, which could be potential danger during the moving zones. As we take a look at Cade once again, I don't think this was even his engagement. There was another 2 duos fighting. He had lost Marine even a couple zones ago, I believe, as now he's kind of just waiting. I wonder if he wants to scavenge a bit of loot or maybe even catch a player off guard.
Yeah, they I believe they just... I think he got Marine back into the game, and unfortunately enough, he just went down right here, right now. So Cade has no choice but to wait it out. Mystic and Maxi, they probably heard the reboot off into the distance. They probably need Surge since they are landing at the north side of the map, and they said, hey, this is going to be the best shot. This might even be the only shot we have to get some isolated Surge while all the rest of the teams have rotated in. You were just talking about the zone moving towards the east around Mount Olympus, which means everybody on this side of the map, whether you go now or later, has one of the farther distances to cover.
Once again, Merstash Malibuca being the first to claim the Rift Island here. They've made their little base. They've captured the flag. And being already 423 damage above, they don't need much more, but we know how confident this duo is mechanically, how well they can play aggressively. So for the duos trying to contest them, looking for that damage, they're just gonna play defensive, and all it's gonna take is one big shot to allow them to close it out.
Yeah, they're feeling confidence on the outside to try to get his piece control. Another team uses the Rift just to grab a spot on the island, not even necessarily to fight it out. They want to get Surge, but when you have a team that's below on damage above the island, of course some chaos is going to break out. Malibuca Merstash taking a little bit advantage of that, trading some shots, but you see the medallion getting dropped. Merstash is trying to replenish the shield. They do have med kits for the HP as well. But that team is still fighting it out towards the side, and that's because of Surge is just forcing them to interact with each other. They have less and less control over their game plan once you fall below that threshold.
105, now 112 above. Teammate gone down. Is the 2v1 the play here? Are you feeling confident enough? As now with a slow disengagement, gonna reposition themselves right back into their tarp and kind of play it a bit slower here. It is difficult to get a reboot this far in the match, so might be forced to play it out as a solo. Issue is the opposing team knows you're also alone, so if they're feeling aggressive enough or need a bit of extra damage, they might just end up making a play towards you.
And I feel like the only team that's even safe on top of Rift Island right now, a little crevice is there, is Reason and Vidil finally turning things on, getting a little bit more aggressive. Karmi's down, so is Toos, and they may have made it out of Grim Gates this game, but they didn't make it very far. And those are two eliminations that I think Reason and Vidil need. Not necessarily for the leaderboard, obviously that helps, but they land over towards Brutal Beachhead. They get the medallion. They have infinite nitro, at least one of them does, and they have the ability to break into a lot of these boxes. I want to see them take a little bit more risk taking down some of these teams that they're fighting and close the time it's taking to finish these fights.
Well, it's working out so far. They're looking incredibly strong in terms of basically everything, except for now that the pressure's on them. They do have the builds to hold it off, but even then, they're going to use a lot of materials for this rotation as they still have a ways to go. There are rifts that spawn under the Rift Island, but I'm not sure how many are going to be free so far, as normally those duos will base up on them as quickly as possible. So another crash pad is going to be placed, but they have found a rift, so this should be enough to get them into zone.
Yeah, the crash pad will only take you so far. The rift will not only allow you to cover further distances, but you get information just like this will allow Reason and Vidil to make this decision, get on top of the Rift Island, and they can always drop down low, get a rift. There is launch pads out here, so there's a lot of mobility still to be had. What, one chaotic fight to one that's slowing down, backside of zone in Mount Olympus still. Teeny's already down. Game one winners already feeling a little bit of that stress, but at least they're above the threshold, so Storm Surge not necessarily a worry for now. This is making sure this elimination does get solidified. 4 more points for their total before it does look like he has to rotate on out.
How long have they been fighting for here? I mean, they've been in Mount Olympus for, what, since 3rd, 4th zone? Just taking shots at each other. There was 3 duos here before. One of them left. Now it was Chap and Teeny up against Flipmuck and Firen, but now it looks like the engagement might come to an end as Chap has been fully cracked once again. 20 white, and I don't think he has enough time here to pop a med kit. He has healed a little bit, though.
He has a small fry still. Flopper on the other side with med kits, small fries with med kits. That's keeping Chap just healthy enough to be able to run away, and that way he doesn't get his med kit canceled out. Nice right-hand peek by Chap. Philip Monk is still on the chase, and I feel like this is almost a no-win scenario for both of these teams, but you got to imagine at least a little bit is edged on over to them. Oof.
Dropping
Now
13
I'm worried.
HP.
Now I'm worried.
Yeah,
13 HP. It's only a matter of time. And now he has all those med kits that you're talking about, the floppers, a lot of extra resources, and a free reboot just outside of Mount Olympus.
I got faith, Jacob. We're gonna see Flipmon back in the game. It might be 10th or 11th zone when he finally makes it. But he's gonna make it back, mark my words. Quick replay of how he ended up getting those 2 eliminations. But in all seriousness, I think he should be able to make it back quite quickly. They do have launch pads. They have a lot of natural mobility to do so. It's just gonna be the reboot, getting his duo partner back in, fire in, getting him looted up, kitted up, and ready for a bit more action. This is gonna be a difficult zone. It is a mountainous area, so these players are gonna have to be prepared and try and keep themselves as elevated as possible. However, that is difficult, especially if you don't have a lot of materials to work with or you are a solo. But look at Kiduo. He's claimed quite a nice position. Storm Surge is ticking though. 7th and 8th zone is where it is genuinely or generally most active, as you can see. Flixie. Nice knock.
Flixie needs to stay alive. They have 8 points. 8 points, 16 now that he's doubled up with a full-on duo wipe, but you don't want to leave it until that last and final game to qualify, especially when you were considered one of the most consistent teams. They're probably looked at as one of the favorites to win the actual FNCS, and now you're falling short of those expectations. Top 28, which means placement points have yet to even set in, so this is big. Flixie doesn't have to win the game here, but he needs to get so close to that top 25 threshold, maybe even top 10 to get half of the points to give him and Vico much more of a chance.
Uncontested Reckless Railways, almost basically an uncontested forecast tower. They have everything they need to play it out, but now left as a solo. We'll see if Flixie can hold on. Just like Kiduo, so many solos trying to play it out here. Issue is for Kiduo, he is 68 below. Good news is he's elevated enough to have opportunities to make some shots, but he's gonna have to land them.
Yeah, and then he has an exit plan there with the launch pad, but it does get coned off momentarily, so neither one of these teams are going to be able to use it, but he's constantly staying ahead of the curve, trying to cut him off. And when he realizes he doesn't have the advantage anymore, he goes back to doing Surge. Everything is going through his mind right now, the checklist of things to do. Defend myself, get Surge. Now it's heal up, that just appeared on his checklist, but he has to go ahead and make it to zone first if he wants to buy that time. He is a solo, and he's so low right now, 108 below the damage threshold. Everything is coming crashing down for Kiduo, but this is what champions are made of. If you're able to dig deep and pull out a big game here, I gotta respect you for that.
Now down to 171 below. He has the Flowberry, he has the med kits, but once this zone starts ticking, the time is gonna run low. You can see Storm Surge is already active. Kiduo now is running out of options. He has Flixie close by, which is another solo, but he doesn't know that. This is gonna be incredibly difficult.
Just a breath of fresh air. Storm Surge turned off. Thank you, he says to the rest of the lobby, for taking down enough players for me to survive. Now he can start thinking proactively. 92 builds, 2 med kits, no shields. He needs a refresh to try to get those shields back. Not necessarily for the materials, but he has some time and some flexibility to do it, and that's why he's peeking through the cone to get that information, pinpointing where these duos at, maybe trying to find a solo. Who can I attack?
The zone has pulled southwest. It's going to be getting closer to the Mount Olympus side, which means it's a big drop in elevation that these players are going to have to do. But the issue with that is if zone pulls back up, you go down, up, down, up. Those drastic changes in elevation is what use a lot of materials, and especially if you don't have items to kind of help you with your rotation. It could lead to your end, but for Malabuka and Merstash, they want to prepare for these situations, and that's exactly why they've just hunted down a nice little impact frag. Unfortunately, did not give them a lot of loot, but still, those 4 points are going to come in handy.
I was thinking Chroma was going to be able to get out, maybe have a solo clutch, but he went down that mountain and instantly got taken down altogether. Reason of the deal, still finding these opportunities to get some damage, staying well above the damage threshold. You can see they're not necessarily rushing. They do have the crash pad, the Flowberry Fizz. The longer they stagger themselves, the more effect they're going to get out of it. And even though Malabuka and Merstash are high above the clouds for now, you see how drastic of a pull that is going to be down that mountain. All those players below, if they don't have builds to build this cushion, Malabuka and Merstash will have to expend more and more of their resources.
This is huge. These are some of the best zones if you're holding height. You can get the zone to pull back, and it's going to be incredibly difficult for the players down below to try and overthrow you because of the amount of materials that they're going to have to use on this rotate. You also have to keep in mind where you want to position yourself before that zone closes. Flixie picks up a quick elimination onto Flipmonk. This is huge. He's been playing as a solo throughout this whole endgame, but he's still looking like he can't be stopped with 3 eliminations, 700 damage above. And he's just getting started with his rotate.
Every single point this game is off the back of Flixie. And he's inching themselves closer. Like I say, you don't need that big win. You just need to get as close to the top side of the leaderboard as possible as Pixie gets taken down, separated from Yanis, who is out of builds. 1 mini left to his name. He is down, and he is down bad as Reason scrambles around. Him and Vidil just get tagged up. HP and Shield drop down low, but Peekaboo tries to land a surprise shot, but Nate is the one who's left standing.
Be careful up above. Merstash, Malibuka have lost the high ground. They're now down in the snow, as it looked like it's going to be Artist that's up above. Pablo and his duo going ahead.
Dame, I expect to see just a little bit more throughout the qualifier process, but glad to have you here nonetheless. Now it's time to make something of these games that you are able to play as high ground changes hands yet again. Artist and Firehunter, they're the ones well above everybody else, and they're attacking that second height. They don't have enough builds to tarp out, so it's either disengage off of this or continue to try to go layer for layer against this team that's right below you.
It's the only option they have, but Merstash realized that and capitalizes on the situation, securing the knock, but he's lost his duo partner. Malibuka is down with just 18 HP and a dream. No materials to work with. Merstash is forced back in the dirt, and he needs to find an elimination.
Oh, there's a couple medkits out there, but he doesn't have enough HP to go back there and get them. There's builds as well, everything that he needs. But Pablo peeks through the cone along with Bevies. They take him down. You see the medallion scrambled all around the map. They're using all this chaos down below as a distraction. They easily move up a layer and towards the front side of the zone.
Voltiax Cool now going to be the new high ground kings. Meanwhile, the couple duos down below are going to have to battle it out. If they have the potential to connect to this ridge, it could be enough, but they got to keep the pressure down below. It's a potential for a lot of eliminations. Art skill goes down. Pablo and his duo incredibly low on HP. Voltiax and Cool might just be able to clean this up from above.
They ran out of builds. They can no longer connect, but Cool is dropping down even with the med kit. He doesn't need it. 1v2 situation. Kashi goes down. Cool and Voltiax cash in all the way from the southeast portion of the map. Welcome to the top side of the leaderboard, brothers.
Great way to finish off the match. You can see how little materials, how little HP and shield all the players down below had from that difficult rotation. So the duo up above was able to clean it up with ease. But Jacob, that's already the second match of the upper bracket. Now there's just one more opportunity for these players to get top 25. If you're Voltiax, if you're Cool, you're going to be feeling great after that match. But for the players that went down early, it is going to be difficult. Congratulations to Voltiax and Cool. I think with that victory royale, they should be feeling more than confident enough to make it in that top 25. We'll see what kind of the estimate is looking like, but before that, we're gonna have to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back for the last match of the upper bracket. See you soon.
Welcome back to the semi-finals of FNCS Major number 3. And Voltiax and Cool are the new kings of the high ground and also kings of the lobby, as they just picked up their first victory royale in the upper bracket of the weekend. And it was a really clean victory for them in the end, Miniminer. That final jump time to perfection.
Yeah, it was absolutely well played from these guys. Really, really nice indeed. The way they took height off of Mustache and Malabuka was good. Mustache went down. Malabuka couldn't have the materials to hold on to it. So they saw the opportunity really well, really mature, really experienced way of playing that end game. Really nice high take.
Yeah, I think we saw, you know, in that game, the zones were quite tough with how they were sort of going up and down these mountains. And you saw a lot of people sort of overcommitting to maybe going up or going down and costing a lot of mats. And towards the end there, they seem to just have a lot more in the tank than everybody else.
Are you quite enjoying these rather evil zone pools though, Levin?
Of course.
I feel like it appeals to your sense of humor.
Yeah, no, I mean, for a viewer, it's great, right? You know, you get a lot of fun moments from it, but for a player, it's terrible. Oh my goodness, it's stressful. It can be, but yeah, I'm not playing, so don't really care.
You get to sit back, relax, enjoy the action, and we get to check out the leaderboard now to see where we're at after those 2 games. There's only one more game of the upper bracket. Remember, everyone needs to be in the top 25 to make it to grands. Otherwise, they're going to have to play 3 more games in the lower bracket. Now, underdog, that's actually Firehunter. That's probably how you know this player with Artist. They did have a fantastic time on the high ground temporarily, so it's probably no surprise to see them clutching some all-important points there. But if we look down, I think, lads, to Mustache and Malabuka, it was another really good game for them. Again, they were unable to hold on to the high ground, but they seem to have found a good format for success, going for Rift Island in both games we've seen so far, Miniminer.
Yeah, it seems like that's the way they want to play this. They have that confidence. They have the ability to just have that mojo about them whenever they play that Rift Island and can go up for it. They have the confidence to do so. Of course, it helps the fact that they've already qualified through at that point as well, I'd imagine. Now they've 100% solidified their qualification to the grand final, so they'll be over the moon. Really nice stuff from that duo, and I think everyone on this first page here, the top 10, have qualified through to the grand finals. I think we can almost confirm that.
Yeah, another return to form as well for Pablo and Bevies.
Yeah.
Levin. Again, it's been another quiet weekend for them. We haven't spoken about them, and now they've made themselves known.
Yeah, you can see them. They were in 6th place on the leaderboard, and they moved up 19, right? So they were in 25th. They were right on the edge, right, of being able to go up to grand finals. And so good to see them sort of secure that there. It's weird with Pablo and Bevies, Mini. I feel like nowadays we just get like the one game from them a season, you know? And we're always due, I don't know what, when it'll either be in the qualifiers or the semis or maybe grands, but we'll just get like the one Pablo and Bevies game where they remind us that they are a team in EU, and it seemed to have come here at a very good time for them.
Yeah, very good. I mean, it's one of those teams that have had experience at being one of the favorites in grand finals, teams that we know have all the ability. And I think it is a bit of a confidence thing for these guys. I know at the end of chapter 4, their confidence was knocked. They weren't as confident in how well they played. They didn't even make it to or they did just about make it to the global championship, I think, just by the skin of their teeth at the end. So I think it was a real roller coaster for them last year, this season, and this last year's been no different.
Looking at this page now, guys, this is a page where no one can truly relax because there could be some teams below them that have epic 3rd and final games of this lobby and then surpass them into those grand finals. Janice and Pixie, I would be very surprised if we don't see them qualify in this next game, Levin. However, they're kind of on the threshold at the moment.
Yeah, a bit of a weird game because it's a game where they get quite deep in the game and things are looking good, and then they sort of then fall apart. I remember this moment here, Janice, I think, got chunked down a lot by, I think it might have been Reason right after this. And yeah, then he's down to 10 HP, he's trying to clutch up, and it's just like, yeah, it's just not really much you can do. It's interesting for them. We'll see. Obviously, again, just need a decent game to keep them in this threshold here. Vico and Flixie, though, big congrats to Flixie after a really impressive solo clutch. Came 8th with 5 eliminations, pushed them into the top 25 and keeps them in a good spot now. Vico literally instantly after the game went straight to Twitter and was like, Flixie's the best player in the world. Oh my goodness, thank you so much, Flixie. So clearly, you know, feeling like Flixie saved their season here.
It's nice
Yeah,
to see.
I'm really enjoying watching this duo. As you're saying, Mini Miner, it's really nice to see. I am very much hopeful that we're going to see some more aggression from them. I'm curious to see where Reason and Vidal got to, because I know that they were trying to find a balance between their trademark aggression in that end game and also just trying to grapple with the terrain, and you can see them there. They are in 25th. Now, Levin, I know this is a duo you follow very closely. In fact, we have been all weekend. Their fortunes have been up and down. Would you predict this as a duo who's going to be able to do it in the third and final game of the upper bracket?
I mean, you would put, you know, your stocks on them for sure. It's Reason and Vidal at the end of the day. It's weird though, because there's not really as much pressure on them as there is for other teams, right? Ultimately, we can sit and go, oh my god, it'd be a shame to not see Reason Vidal here, but they're going to globals. So like, you know, outside of the extra money they'd be getting from this grand, which, trust me, neither of them need it. They're both doing very well with themselves. You know, there isn't that pressure on them like there is for other teams, right? The likes of Karama and Werex, who have been ever present in EU this chapter, Giras and Chari, right? Turtle and Cheeps, who were in last grand. Akira and Yeezy started off this season looking really good. I thought they'd be a team that makes it to grands with ease. Sky and Scroll on this page here, they've made it to every single grand finals so far this chapter. Marius and Sanguild, massive. Like, there are just so many big names here that like there is pressure on them, because a lot of them aren't qualified to globals, and it's like you need to get to grands. Now obviously, yeah, sure, you go to lowers you know, a bit later today and you get to play those games, but that's only top 15. If you're struggling to get top 25 in these games, like, you know, top 15 isn't a guarantee for you in the next 3 games in lower brackets. So really big pressure on a lot of teams there now, Mini.
Yeah, it's really, this is where the pressure gets on. I mean, one more game for these guys. Noticing there, Kaito and Haijo in 38th position. They were uncontested in that last game as well. They had a 26th with 2 eliminations. So, I mean, we talked about them at the beginning of the show. You broke it down really nicely, Levin, about how well they can win off spawn. But even when they're uncontested, they're finding it difficult to get Surge. So, interested to see how that duo goes, because they have potential to be contested in their final game. They're going to be shivering their timbers right now, because it's not going to be looking good for the last game.
It'll be really interesting to see if they do have to play in the lower bracket as well, because yesterday we saw them fighting Noah and Aqua quite a lot, and those guys we know are in the lower bracket, and they drop a red line rig nearby, so potentially we're going to see some interesting battles between those two before the end of today's action. But we do have one more game in the upper bracket to seal the deal for 25 of our duos and get them through to that grand final. So let's head back to Jacob here and to Carter to find out who's going to make it.
Thank you so much, Frankie. Jacob, I want to say this is the last match, but this is just the last match of the upper bracket where top 25 will qualify to the grand finals. After this, don't go anywhere. We still have another 3 matches in the lower bracket. So the players who do not make top 25 after this match will get grouped up with the players who are currently waiting in the lower bracket to have another 3 matches be played out where the top 15 will qualify. But you don't want to make it to the last chance. You want to qualify right now if you're competing in this match. So, you know, the stress is going to be at an all-time high for these players, and there's a lot of them who are going to be contested as well.
Yeah, especially since 3 games, you go down to the lower bracket, you're coming off of losing out on the easiest chance to qualify, the top 25. It does not get easier in the lower bracket, but the game number 3 and the final game of the upper bracket starts now. Let's see who qualifies.
I'm curious to see if we see any changes in play style for this last match, but I think when you only have 3 opportunities, you shouldn't mix up too many things in terms of drops. But for Swis and Floki, they're going to be starting off strong with a quick knock, and all it's going to take is one more shot onto Fast Strokey to clean it up. Floki, Swis now are going to be starting off with yet again another 2 eliminations.
And you know what makes that scary? You know what makes that situation scary? Fast Strokey, Robon, 52 points, 18th place. They are in danger. They have to watch this one out and hope all those players below them don't have any big games. And that's why we're seeing all these contested fights and how they really play out throughout the day. Is Haijo and Kaito 8 points. It's almost all or lower bracket here. And they're going to go ahead and do exactly what Levin said earlier on to start the day. Split the drop, free shields on one side, but more of the loot is going to be on the other side.
Now both players have 200 effective HP and shield. They do have that advantage. However, depending on how the loot looked for the opposing duos, it could even up here. But as you can see, as they do get that slurp truck, they're going to go instantly to try and play aggressive and see if they can get a quick knock. It looks like the initial shot is going to be connected. Hydro now going to reposition himself and continue shooting.
Yeah, being very, very careful. He knows a lot of the space is already owned by them. EMP comes out. That's going to separate and buy them a little bit of time. Hydro does not heal, and it works out as Truly goes down. He tries to push in and finish that elimination. Now Ace Frax just by himself with less than 50 HP. He has a dream to try to survive, and that dream turned into a nightmare. Back to the lobby for him, and back to the lower bracket.
Good news is they have another chance, Jacob. Another opportunity, 3 more matches, but it's draining. It's mentally draining for the players who don't make it here in the upper bracket. So we'll see if they can hold on, if they have that competitor mentality to keep going. Kidduo and Nebs, 1 elimination on the board. I think they're going to be 3-0 at Grimgate today. They've been looking unstoppable here.
Yeah, I don't even really see Tusi Karmi anywhere else, or at least the solo, because you see they got 1 elimination so far, but the fights will not slow down. A lot of these players that are low on the leaderboard, it's all or nothing. You need eliminations. You need a good, well-placed game on top of that one. So that's why you're seeing a lot of the early game action going down. And I can't say it's only going to involve the teams lower on the leaderboard, because sometimes they might just fight whoever's in front of them. That means that you're at the top of the leaderboard, middle of the pack. You might end up having to defend your game.
Bit of a sandwich situation here. It's never one you want to be in, as even if you start the engagement and come out on top, you'll likely go down to the third party. Here we have Flixie. Vico, Levin was talking about it. Flixie had an insane clutch in the previous match. But now with his duo back in the game, the confidence must be at an all-time high. 64 points for these players. I believe the estimate to qualify is around 58 points. So they should be in good standings, but with these 2 eliminations, those extra 8 points could be everything.
Yeah. 4 more right here. They picked up 8. The elimination still, time and time again. Another team's gonna come in his Cheeps, in his Turtle. Probably hearing this fight, thinking like, hey, we might be able to take part of this. And now that they got a good portion of the loot, they can actually choose to disengage, depending on what they actually came for here. If they want Surge, they might stay here. But other than that, I feel like they put themselves in a good position to try to disengage. On the other side, Vico and Flixie, you're talking about the points. Flixie essentially qualified for the grand finals by himself in that last game.
He did. I mean, that's a way to do it. Which is why Vico was on socials being like, I have the best duo ever. Let's go. Vico's or Flixie's insane. But look, the job's not finished, Jacob. You don't want to just qualify on the edge.
No.
You want to show your dominance. As Merstash and Malabuka, they are, or should be at least, uncontested, which is why they might be choosing to play a bit aggressive here in the early game to see if they can get a bit of damage. They already have the mythic loot, but Merstash is going to disengage.
They're a team that, with the red line rig, they could take a lot more risk, get a lot more opportunities. They kind of do both, whether they go into zone rather quickly using those nitro rings or kind of stagger themselves back, knowing that the zone is pulling in their favor. Teams will have to rotate through them. And because they're so quick to formulate that strategy, you don't really run into too much opposition until the later portions of the game. Sky and Scroll. You see them just kind of rotating around. 88 players still left in the lobby. Very, very early in the game, and a lot of the teams haven't rotated just yet to the Cactuses, but as I saw that, you see Queasy and Thomas.
A lot of duos here. Even if they did secure a knock, you got to be careful for going for the finish. Sandy Steps is an incredibly popular location for a lot of these duos. Shots are going to be trying to get connected by Teeny and Chat, but I think they found a solo kind of lurking in one of the buildings in the surrounding area here. If they can pick this elimination up quickly, it could be more than enough.
And you know they like to fight. We're not a team that strays away from those opportunities, but this is that same building every time. It scares me just a little bit due to those half walls, the broken walls, the ones you can't really build to protect yourself, and that's where Werix was able to land some good shots. Slow down Teeny momentarily and allow him to disengage for free.
Do they know where he is? Is the pursuit on or not? No. That little scare from Teeny and Chap has caused them to say, you know, maybe we can go somewhere else. We can loot up again. We can keep farming. That was a close one. But if they do end up finding Werix here as a solo, even they can most likely hear or even get the visual cue from the footsteps, knowing that he might be close by. Uh-oh. This could be bad, Jacob.
Ooh, I was gonna say this could be a nice 1v1 opportunity. Oh, nice shot there. This is gonna be the best shot he got. Chap goes down, but the shots go through the builds. Teeny with the quick cleanup, saving the day, because even Teeny was weak. That would have been a best case scenario if he was able to clean up the knock on the Chap. By a couple seconds, at least pop some minis, but that chance is done and gone. Chap and Teeny survive yet again, and their forecast tower is up for grabs, as it seems.
I wonder if they saw like the weapon, as I believe when he went right in the tunnel, he just kind of ran right in, but then when he was going towards Werix, he kind of hesitated a little bit and shows the right-hand peek as he was crouched like behind a storage container or something. Might have saw his shotgun peeking out a little bit. Reason for deal, they have the surge base set up. Once again, a reminder, you know, why is there so many surge bases in this side of the map? You can see kind of that cactus by reason. They're spread out all over this location, and when you pickaxe them, you do get a bit of extra shield, so you can kind of use that to take some shots, and even if you take damage, you can just recuperate that shield without having to use any bigs or minis. This is what I was talking about. He kind of went directly to the right without hesitating, but then when he went back to where Werix was, he did the right-hand peak side, so he was a little suspicious of that corner, and it ended up saving him. Hardest in his duo, though. 2 eliminations.
Fire hunters around here, and this is where Nitro jump. There's a lot of cactuses. There's a triple cactus up the road at a little kind of hut garage base. That's where you see a lot of the teams boxed up on for their points. Artisan Fire Hunter, not too much difference going down from them, as the bunkers now beginning to open up around the map, allowing for players that might not have the best loot starting off to kind of use those as a focal point to try to pack a punch with their loadout.
So we've had 2 east zones. Will the trend continue, or will it change?
Yep. Says mind games too as a player. You see the zone for the first couple games going one direction, you're like, okay, this is the type of day we're gonna have. But in the next game, it goes a whole different direction, changing things up. Really forced to be on your toes, but for Axe Force and a lot of these players around this portion of the map, no matter where the zone goes, it's business as usual. Need those cactuses, you need surge. We were talking about it through day 1 and day 2. The threshold for storm surge in zone 6 is the highest it's been all season long, and not just by a little bit, by more than a full elimination.
Teeny in the feed actually going to pick up an elimination. It's going to be the second elimination for the duo. Destru, though, looking to see if he can kind of take the sneaky route, get a 3-2-1 on his opponents down below.
It's a lot of waiting. They're going to be waiting a long time here, and they might not even still get that opportunity because, yeah, they can go up. That's where you're going to get the easiest shots on them, but they can also continue to just move through the boat. There is the Nitro ring down below, and that's going to be, honestly, not only their safest escape, but probably their best escape, because then they get the Nitro effect. They can build to protect themselves. I just hope they don't go up.
No, I think you're right. I wonder if the opponents that are playing slow will kind of keep that in mind and look down below under the Nitro ring. You could still get quite a few shots in as they're flying through the sky. Lucia and Wheat in the center of Shipwreck Shallows. Looking a bit desperate for tags, which is as they should be doing here. There's just not any duos in the surrounding area. Literally the only duo in sight on the minimap is Thomas HD and Queasy, who are also in a surge base, so either they take shots back and forth or they find something else.
Just kind of give an update. I know we're looking for that top 25, and there are about 6 or so teams that are already down and out of game that are inside of that top 25. Some have more than enough points to be safe. Others might not be so much. It's going to come down to a photo finish at the end of this game, which kind of puts pressure on whether you're playing or not. kind of watch and see how it all plays out. But Sky and Stroll, they push in, they attack Fadil, and this is a situation they need to survive. They are outside the threshold right now, or at least on the line, tied with a few other players. Reason needs to be able to stay alive, and that's why you see him disengaging. He has to be careful. I talked about the Nitrodrome, all these cactuses that are nearby, so there are so many teams boxed up in this position, waiting for an opportunity to spot out a solo just like him.
I need to see how Sky did that. The deal dropped in an instant, literally a millisecond, and he was gone. Blink of an eye as Reason, like you said. Now, it's going to be tough, because if he goes down, it's going to be a path to the lower bracket. Will he try and clutch it out as a solo? Will he risk getting that reboot card? The issue is the reboot card is on a surge base with cactuses. If I'm Sky, I'm not moving from that location.
For multiple reasons there. And the thing about them, they already have their global championship spot secured from that last major. But these are two hungry competitors, man. They don't want to do bad in any tournament. They want to make every grand finals. This is good practice for that global championship, as Destru. This is the fight we were watching earlier. I thought they were just going to leave the boat, but they actually went down in them and chased them, giving them no chance for escape.
All or nothing. As we take a look at the Rift Island, this is normally where we'd see Merstash and Malabuka, but due to the different zone, we've got a few new duos here trying to claim it, taking shots back and forth. I don't believe has the flag been captured yet? No, it has not. So both players here looking to see if they can get their opponents off of it as the shots come through. No big one connected yet, though.
Yeah, but I like Zoom's confidence. He's continuously trying, especially when he doesn't even have that right-hand advantage to kind of break the build, but he's not giving up. Back-to-back pieces take it. Zoom lands a shot. Wasn't a lot of damage, but that looked clean for him. Squeezy on the other side, just trying to grab that extra angle. Asa and Ju just forced to reposition, build extra space for them on the other side, and they're even separated. They got to be careful not to get caught off guard, because with so much chaos going down, that could be an easy possibility.
Good news is they're quite centered in the zone right now. They have time to spend. The issue is they keep taking shots, they keep using heals, they keep using materials. You can see all that's left for Zoom is metal, the most scarce resource on the map that's going to be difficult to recuperate. Ideally, you could use more brick in this fight, but I don't even know if they're going to be able to fully close it out. As we look over to Podesai and Snazy up against our Game 2 winners, Cool and Voltiax, which was actually their first victory royale in an FNCS set lobby for both players.
Just like a tough situation to be in if you're a lot of these guys really just trying to make up a point gap. 48 points, Podesai and Snazy, 13th, 25th. Inconsistent games as Merstash is down. This could be a big win for Axforce and Klowski. That's a lot of loot on the other side. That one's instantly going to cleaned up. Medallion was not in his inventory, though. Malabuka still has possession of that, but they do got that Mythic AR.
Yeah, I don't think they want to risk going fully in here, as they know there's other duos in the surrounding area, but maybe with the confidence of having those cactuses behind them and now the Mythic AR, it's going to bring them to pick up the rest. Malabuka, though, now has to get out of here. How many points is Merstash and Malabuka at? I think they're in the top of the leaderboard, top 5, so they're kind of just playing to claim their zone here.
I mean, condition a lot of the teams around him again. It's almost like you forget about those dashes sometimes. They're not as prominent as they were in previous seasons, but they still deal a lot of damage and easily able to catch teams off guard. As Cade, Moran, they're still going up and higher, trying to get the elevation advantage, but now they're forced to go down low. Their opponents have. Moran's getting 2v1 for quite some time, but finally Cade is into the mix. Down goes Jakey. Twi's left by himself, but he meets that same fate. They are down and out of this game, sent back to the lobby, and they have some time with the break to think about how they're going to change things up for the lower bracket.
Cade has been on fire today. If it wasn't for the previous match where they went down early in game 1, they led the pack in terms of eliminations, and now once again, not missing a single shot. I know Cade is feeling good with the potential of going directly to grand finals after this match. Hellfire QB on the other hand, 24 points. We talked about it. The estimate should be around 58 potentially, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less. So they're going to need to have a pretty good game here.
It's going to be tough, but at least they pulled zone on their side. About like 13, 14. We'll just say 15 for the sake of it. Players outside of the top 25, or I should say full teams, still alive, trying to make something happen here. A few more just inside of that threshold. So with a few spots still left for grabs here in game number 3, points-wise, there's a lot of possibilities still to play out. And I think that's why, even as fast as the action has been going earlier on in the game, things have slowed down just a little bit.
Kiddo and Nebs have also been playing very well aggressively. Dominating in the early game, but Moni and Lunex, I believe, started off with basically 0 points in the first match. Luckily enough, though, in the second one, they did pick up 28, so in a similar situation to Hellfire and QB, they need to make this game count, so they don't want to take too many risks, just like Reason here, who now might be going for the reboot card of the deal, but I think it's too late, actually, at this point. 422 below, 18 points needed. This is not looking good at all, Jacob. This is not looking good at all. A nightmare.
I was thinking, it's Reason, man. He can do it. But then I see 400 below the damage threshold. I'm like, oh, man. Hey, he can still do it. It might be like 1 in 1,000, but hey, 1 in 1,000 is still a chance here, especially with some teams going down. Snazy, Podeside being one of them, inch closer up that threshold, and now he spots out a solo by himself. Still not enough damage, even if he gets the elimination, but he's inching himself closer and closer, easing up the pressure. And since it is a 1v1, isolated towards the outside, not too many teams looking over in this direction just yet. But there is a full bunch of solos crowded around just south of where they are now, so Reason has to be careful. The fight might be worth it to get the loot, to get the points, to get the surge that you need. But becoming the focus of the lobby is a nightmare waiting to happen. Now Storm Surge activating Takata, it's going to get worse.
Have to go on a rampage here if he wants to stay up. He knows the player below him is a solo. Nitro right in the box. One quick pump to send him back to the lobby, down to the lower bracket, as Reason now has just recuperated that shield that he's lost, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Storm Surge might not even be active anymore.
Yep, that was
he might just be able to clutch it up.
That was the biggest thing about that elimination, is he's still down on Surge, but it turned off because he was able to drop it below that threshold. In Zone 7, though, it's going to have to drop down to 40 players. So Reason, he knows where he stands in sort of Storm Surge, but now he has to figure out where he's going to get the shots that are needed. With players rotating through the sky, this is going to be step number 1.
Locked in, focused. He sees the number now. That threshold that he needs to reach, it's 374. He's got about 55 seconds to do that much damage. Not too many options, but the first one in sight is going to be to push Turtle.
Yeah, that was a good opportunity. Turtle fell behind the curve, but Chiefs immediately turns around to try to lend that helping hand. Reason on the search, has to go elsewhere. He's trying to take advantage of players that are distracted, sneak some shots in, not take that full risk, but that time is running out with every team starting to rotate faster and faster to zone. But Asa makes his way back, probably down on Surge as well, and Reason takes advantage of that one. Still below the damage threshold by 73. One more well-placed shot will go ahead and get him above and ease the pressure.
He was unable to get the finish, that extra damage he needed. The threshold will end at 40 players if 3 more get eliminated. But Reason out of the sky. You're playing against the best of Europe. They're not going to miss their shots. As Reason goes down and now potentially going to have to play it out again in the next 3 matches in the lower bracket.
Yeah, they went down on 54 points. Guess what, Takata? 3 teams are down and out on 54 points. These tiebreakers, how this game shakes out is going to be very, very interesting. But luckily for a lot of these teams, you still got that second chance in the lower bracket. Top 22 here. That means placement points are now beginning to set in. Top 10, top 8 is where you get at least half of those placement points. So that should be the bare minimum goal for a lot of these teams.
Not as difficult as a zone as we had in the previous 2 matches. There is a bit of changes in elevation, but nothing that comes close to Mount Olympus or the winter side of the map. Ijo Kaido, one of the contested duos of the day. But with 520 damage above the threshold, they have no worries in terms of how much damage they need to do. They can focus strictly on their rotation.
And see, it's going down the mountain, which is a blessing for a lot of these players, but it opens up another unique thing here that we haven't really seen too much here towards the end game. That's the river sticks. That's the underworld dashes that everybody's going to have a chance to use. So finishing these fights might be easier in some cases, but harder in others, especially if you're a solo like Marius. 34 points. You need to have a Flixie-style game here where you're able to clutch up and get the points necessary to qualify on your own. And with big damage like that, no HP to regain, Marius goes down.
34 points, not going to be enough. A lot of top players are going to be competing in the lower bracket once again. Akira and Easy, though, at 42. All they need is a bit more. They just have to stay up here, and with the positioning they have, one crash pad to make it to zone. It does pull north, the first moving zone of the day here in the third match.
In theory, this is the last easy rotation they're going to get. You talked about it being their last crash pad. Hopefully they can find something else, or maybe even have nitros in their inventory. Other than that, it's going to get exponentially harder for them to continue to rotate through this end game. Sky and Scroll have a little bit more flexibility than them. They're almost 700 above the damage threshold, but instantly fall on this next zone. What did we just witness? Hydro's trying to stay ahead of the curve. 249 damage thanks to shots like that, but that was a drastic turn of events there.
That was insane. You could even see Hydro Kaido were almost 700 above not long ago, now dropped to 249. It's enough for the moment, but with the pressure being applied to them, it just keeps going down. Clownski, Axe Force looking to see if they can elevate themselves, but meanwhile, Artist and his duo are going to be the ones to successfully claim height for the moment.
Yeah, we'll see where this next zone pulls, though. Because if it pulls over those old builds, they can possibly maintain it. Other than that, they might have to stagger and let somebody build their way up. Sky and Scroll looking like they were going some piece control, advancing closer and closer to Queasy and Thomas. But they betted against it, rightfully so. Drew's going to get the knock on to Queasy. Thomas is down as well. They are out in top 16.
I saw Flixie up. I don't know if Vico is standing as well. Is it going to be another clutch from Flixie to secure his spot in the grand finals? Sky and Scroll taking shots down below. They don't need too much damage, but they want to do a clean rotate here. Got to be careful, though, as eyes are on them. No cracks yet.
Yeah, they started this game with 16 points, well below that threshold. They're trying to work their way back, but it is a marathon, not a race. Even if it's 3 games, it's going to take everything out of you. Convex is trying to sneak his way in, but Axe Force Clousey, they spot him from above. Luckily for him, he reunites with Perhawa, but the battle for the high ground that we're waiting for has started, but it's Nate going up as a solo. Fire Hunter and Artist, they deny that opportunity, send him all the way back down low to the low ground, and that is that added pressure of those dashes. You take no fall damage, whether you have Fizz, Nitro, or not.
Hydro with another elimination, picks up one alongside Kaido. Both players still up. The chemistry looking like an all-time high. Is this duo going to be able to clutch it up in the last match? They're at 46 points now. They need to get at least 56 to make it. Clownski, Axe Force up as well, but they have no materials.
Yeah, you see them dashing around, trying to use those dashes, and they find Kiddo outside of the zone, get a couple of those siphon mats, replenish the dashes. They're moving. They are grooving to the tune right now, trying to pick up the pace. 50 points. They're well within range. They can smell that qualification.
Just a couple eliminations is all it's gonna take. Can they stay up? Hydro Kaido ahead of zone now. They want high ground. They're going for the retake. Will they be able to secure it? Meanwhile, Convex Perhawa down in the dirt.
Yep, they started this game outside of the top 25, and they're trying to make it matter. So many teams are making this last game worth it as they're trying to push themselves into qualification range. Even includes a battle for the high ground. Axe Force, Clousky, Kaido, Hydro, and they're just pressuring down below, forcing them out of their space. Hey, we worked for this, we've earned this, and we will not be denied this big game win.
Just one more placement, just one more elimination. Every point matters when you're on the threshold. Clownski and Axe Force, they need to close this one out.
Most of the players left alive in this game are outside of the top 25, which means they're giving themselves a fighting chance. Hydro, Kaido, heal off is going to begin just a little bit early outside of the zone. He's trying to catch up because the floppers are now down and out. Vico is gone. He was left by himself by Flixie, but they're definitely into the grand finals already. Axe Force, Clownski, they're one of the few duos left alive, but they're still a solo in their path.
They needed a huge match to qualify, and it looks like they're delivering. Just 4 players up now, 2 duos as Haijo is gonna be the one that cleans it up. What just happened?
That was a big opportunity. Both of those teams needed the big game, and I think they've got what they were looking for. They didn't need a map because they had the recipe for success. You got to give them a huge round of applause, but now we got to go down to the leaderboard, Takada, because I'm just looking right now. I was throughout the game, 13 players at one point or another. There was more players outside of the bubble than there was inside of that bubble. So that leaderboard has been shaken up for sure.
I'm trying to do calculations. I'm trying to figure out what just went down, but there was just too much chaos. I mean, Haijo and the opposing duo that was up above both needed a massive game to qualify to the grand finals, and they delivered. First and second place. You can see here how Kaido was actually able to secure some of those final eliminations. Meanwhile, Axe Force was staying above on height, claiming as much placement as possible, but it was the flank from Kaido, the double shotgun shot to close it off. What a finish.
I said it while it was happening. They were distracted by the only solo left in the lobby, and one of them took the low ground, one of them took the high ground, and they just went ahead and sealed that deal. Big games for a lot of these players all around. I would be a liar if I say I was disappointed, because this is probably one of the best 3 games that we've seen in a long time.
It's what you love.
פאק, בטעות סגרתי את זה רגע. שנייה. בואו נראה בלידבורד את המקומות. אני הקריין שלכם לדבר הזה. כדי להיכנס לאתר ולצפות, אתם מחפשים בגוגל פורטנייט קומפטיטיב וואץ', ואז זה מוצא לכם פורטנייט קומפטיטיב, אתם לוחצים על זה ואתם בפנים. זה לא מסובך. או שפשוט תחפשו competitive.fortnite.com. ואז אתם יכולים לצפות. אני יכול לשלוח.
Crumble and not even make it off spawn, but these two knew that they were pretty much on the last page of the standings, and they had to have the ultimate performance, and Levin, that's exactly what they gave us.
They did so well in that game. From the very beginning, Mini Miner, I was like, okay, this is different level now. This is different stuff. They landed off spawn at Little Dirty Dot, like we highlighted at the start of the game. They landed at that south side, got the slurp truck, truly, and then what? On the north side, right? So it was the matchup we were expecting to see. They both get shotguns, instantly rush, aggressive, and you could see the intent in them was different from what we've seen in previous games. They play out the rest of the game, and maybe not flawlessly, but when it mattered most and they had to hit the shots to keep them in the game, they do exactly that. And Kaito at the end stepping up with a big flank to win them the game. I mean, beautiful stuff. I think they went into that game in like 44th or something. Like they had 8 points going into that game, and now, you know, doing much better after that win.
Yeah, really nice to see from these guys. I said going into that game they were going to be a little bit nervous going into it, because there was always that potential for them to be contested. And even we broke it down at the beginning of the show. We said as soon as these guys get that off-spawn win, they he's on his bed.
אני קריין. זהו, מצ'ט, מה אתם אומרים שנעשה עכשיו? יש לי עוד סרטונים שאני יכול לעלות לערוץ, אבל אף אחד לא נראה לי יצפה, אולי רק מישהו 1 או 2, אני לא בטוח. אני אחפש אם יהיה לי משהו ממש מעניין, אני אעלה. בכל מקרה, כל הסרטונים האלה הם בערוץ הראשי שלי, שגב דן. תעקבו, תיתנו לייק וסאב. וזהו, תודה רבה לכל מי שצפה, וזהו, קוד סוויס בחנות. כן. טוב, לייב שני להיום של 1.5 שעות, אנחנו פגש בלייב הבא, כנראה מחר, אז ביי. ביי. ערב טוב, ותודה רבה לכל מי שהיה כאן וצפה ונתן לייק. אני מקווה שבאמת עשיתם את זה, כאילו פרגנתם בלייק ובסאב והכל. אז ביי, ערב טוב.